Hey, welcome to the show. I'm here today with Caroline Boudreaux. Caroline, how you doing today?
Doing great. Thank you, Travis. Appreciate you letting me be here.
Well, I'm definitely not stopping you from sitting in what I'm assuming is your guest room or bedroom. I'm definitely not preventing
Yes.
you from doing that. Oh, you mean on the show? Oh,
Yeah, on the
yeah.
show. Thanks
Yeah,
for
on the
letting me be here on
show.
the show. Yeah.
Yeah, happy to have you. I know you're the head of the Miracle Foundation. Tell us a little bit about that, who you are, what you do, and why you do it.
I'm the founder of Miracle Foundation. I come from a large Catholic family from Louisiana, so very Cajun. I grew up, just in this really with this beautiful family, and had a good career. I was in television, and I started off when I was like 22 in television, and I did just really good. And then uh, one day I was with my friend, and we were at happy hour, and we were kind of talking about our life and what we were doing with our lives and our jobs and our careers. And we decided we were going to quit our jobs and take a trip around the world for a year. Now, at the time, I was just a businesswoman. I just was, I was just a business person. I didn't have any kind of philanthropic anything. I was just, I was just kind of, I guess, normal. So we went back to her house and we spread this world map on the floor and we started talking about what countries we wanted to see. And she wanted to go to India because she'd been sponsoring a little boy through the Christian Children's Fund and she wanted to go meet him. And I just said, Chris, oh my gosh, what a bunch of bunk. I mean, there's no way that kid is real. There's just like, no, we're not going. She's like, oh, please, please. I just love him. And so I said, fine. Well, so we put India in the 6 month, well, our 5th month, we went to India. So we left in January of 2000. We get all the way over to India. We go to this really remote village in on the eastern side, about an hour north of Calcutta, and we get paraded through this village. And at the end of this parade is this little boy who's holding the first picture she'd ever sent him 4.5 years ago. And he's in school and he's got electricity and he's got teachers and his parents are fine. And it's just like, oh my gosh, this is just amazing. I cannot believe this is working. I'm shocked. And so we start doing volunteer work there. This is May, and we start doing volunteer work there. And then on Mother's Day, it was May the 14th of 2000, the day that really changed everything. It was Mother's Day in the United States. I got up early. I called my mom for Mother's Day. We went to this village. It was 119 degrees that day, hot, 119-degree heat that day. Went to this village, worked all day in the village, and then that night got invited to a local's house for dinner. And we got to his house, and they opened the doors, and we walk into this orphanage with these 110 bald little kids, these bald, empty-looking children, empty-looking, hungry-looking children. We had dinner with them. They served us they served us chicken. They served the children rice, no beans, no just rice. And we had a prayer service with them. And then after dinner, we were calling them Velcro babies because they were just like latching on to us. I mean, here we are, these perfect strangers, and these little children are just all over, just climbing all over us. And this little girl came and put her head on my knee. I sang her the lullaby that my mother used to sing to me, and she fell asleep in my arms. And when I went to put her in her crib, I walked into this room with these 40 wooden beds, like picnic tables, these splintered, filthy picnic tables, no blankets, no sheets, nothing soft. And I mean, I put that orphan girl in that wooden bed. I heard her bones hit that bed. And Travis, I just thought, what am I doing? I'm partying around the world and they're hungry and alone and sleeping on wood. I mean, it just really convicted me. And I just thought, God, they need a foundation. Here are these little miracles. They're just so, like, the human potential was just palpable. And where's their foundation? And so I started an organization called Miracle Foundation that day, that minute, Mother's Day of 2000. And our goal has been always to help them reach their full potential, to help children reach their full potential. So, it's not like feeding every kid in the world. It's not about that. It's about giving them what I had, which is the ability to reach my full potential. So that's the story of the Miracle Foundation. 21 years later, we supported about 300 orphanages in our day, where we really worked side by side with these orphanages, took care of 15,000 children. And over the course of our work, we've realized that really, if you really want to help kids, Travis, you will know this better than anybody. You give them a family. You give them their own family, or you find a permanent, safe family where they can live and land and thrive. And so Miracle Foundation, we do three things. We take kids from orphanages and bring them back to their family of origin. It might be their grandmother, it might be their sister, their cousin, their auntie, something like that. But we get children out of institutions and into loving families. The second thing we do is we prevent children from ever entering the system in the first place. This is key. We can empty orphanages and reduce the number of children in the foster care system, but if the pipeline keeps going, we're never gonna be able to go out of business, which, by the way, is our goal, to go out of business. That is our goal by 2040. And so the third thing we do, so we reunite children with their families. We prevent children from ever entering the system in the first place by building strength, doing family strengthening work. And then the third thing we do is we connect the U.S. foster care system. So our headquarters is in Austin, Texas. That is a technology hub. We have leveraged technology from the very beginning of our work. And so we have these tech tools, these apps, and these scales, and these measurement tools that we use. And so we connect the U.S. foster care system through technology. So those are the three things that we do, and we're great at
it. Wow. The delay there was thinking of how I could use non-cuss words to express. Wow. That is so amazing with what you're doing, all from one little trip to India, huh?
One little girl named Shibani Das, who I put on that wooden bed. Today, she's 22 years old. She's in college. She is, on scholarship with Miracle Foundation. She wants to be a teacher. And so, yeah, never doubt that one person can change your life if you let them.
If you let them, that's key. I know
That's the key.
So many people in my sphere of influence, and there's a whole little group of people that just do not like me. And I think it's because I was trying to hold them accountable when they weren't ready to be held accountable.
Very possibly.
Very possibly.
Very possibly.
Well, that's a lot to unpack there. I mean, holy cow, Caroline. First off, I wanted to mention what a great job you're doing, and it's much appreciated. As a foster kid myself, those are the things that would have helped me be successful as a kid.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Tell us a little bit about this Connecting Foster Care Systems. I think you guys have an app.
Yeah, so we have a donor who said, take your time and figure out what is missing in the foster care system. Why is our foster care system broken? Two key words. Number one, time. It does take some time to be able to research and study. Number two, what is missing? What is really missing? Because that's where you always find the gaps, is when you really look for people for what's missing. So it's been a beautiful thing. So average child in the United States moves 7 times, 7 different foster families. How many foster families did you have?
5 different ones, 8
5
trips
different
total.
Ones, 8 trips. So, you're a little below the amount of people time, but look, come on, what kind of damage can it do to move over and over and over and over again? Different school, different family, different church, different bedroom, different food, different smells, right? I mean, it's crazy. Mm-hmm. So we learned that children in the average child in the foster care system in the United States bounces 7 times. And then one of the reasons
is that full-time foster care? Because I always wasn't in foster care. Sometimes I live with my mom or other family members.
That does not include living with your kin. That only includes living with people that are not related to you. And so and then we found out that 60% of foster families quit within the first year. It's just too hard for them. That's one of the reasons the children are bouncing, because the foster families are quitting. There's just too much work. There's too much burden on them. And then, so we looked at, why did the 60% leave? Paperwork, cumbersome, didn't have enough support. They were rural. You can't just get someone to carpool your foster kid. I mean, they have to be fingerprint, background check. It's like we put all these rules and regulations and make it very difficult for parents. So that's why 60% of them dropped out. And then we looked at, why did the 40% stay? What did they have that the 60% didn't? And what can we do to support them? And one of the things they had was they had case managers that gave them the right amount of time, attention, and support. So then we started looking at case managers. Average length of stay at case managers in the United States, 9 months. 9 months. That's how long they stay at a job. Now, as a businesswoman, I can tell you, what an expensive way to run a company. I mean, if my employees were leaving every 6 months, every 9 months, by the time they understand what the heck's going on, you've lost them. By the time you train them, on the software, they might have 6 months to play with it. So we found a direct correlation between case manager, length of stay, and foster children permanency. And so our app is designed to help case managers and foster parents communicate. It makes it so much easier for them to communicate. Everything is in one place. They don't have to go to their internet. They don't have to go to their email. They don't have to go to their text. They don't have to go to their WhatsApp. They go to one place. It's all in an app. Everything is taken care of. It's also perfect for the judges and the people that the guardian ad litem. They can all look at this, but it makes it really easy for case managers to collect the data they need and foster families to give the data they need. And we piloted it in the state of Texas, and we're ready to go to other states. It's working. So when the donor asked us what was missing, one of the things that was missing is case manager support. Now, that's not as sexy. Everybody loves to take care of the kids. If we're raising money for kids, boy, that's a lot easier. But what we're learning is, when you're doing systemic change, when we're doing root cause, when you're doing things that are really trying to change the system, you got to go to the people that are taking care of the people. That's the way to do it. And so we get to, at Miracle Foundation, we get to figure out who the heroes are and support them. That's our job. We figure out who are the heroes and we support them.
I want to commend you from actually taking the time to figure out what's missing. So many people in the nonprofit space don't do that. They just want to help, and they get in there and they start doing whatever they think is necessary, and they don't actually do the background work necessary to figure out what the heck's actually needed. I actually interviewed someone else in the space, Candace Leozu at Foster 360 out of Mesa, Arizona, and she did the same thing. She was a businesswoman, wanted to know why kids aging out of the foster care system were doing so poorly, and she wanted to help. And she did a survey in the greater Mesa, Tempe, Phoenix area and found out that there's tons of programs to help foster care, but they were being treated just like they were in the foster care system. They were being passed around from organization to organization to organization. So the gap that she filled was pairing up newly minted adults aging out of the care system with a case manager to help them navigate all the different types of programs. So
Nice.
super, super impactful. And then you mentioned that case managers drop off after 9 months. Ain't nobody trained in 9 months. No one effective.
Nobody.
And if you take that, just back that off one step back to nonprofits, where the average time is 12 to 18 months, same problem. They're not getting trained and supported, and by the time they have a clue what's going, they're already completely overwhelmed, unable to sustain, and they're off to the next place. So whether that's case managers or people working in the nonprofit system just in general, we do a poor job of taking care of them. And if they're not able to be sustained, then you have no one with actual experience, subject matter expert in the system to actually help these kids. Now, you asked me before the show about my case manager, and I was like, I have no idea. And I don't know if it was based on city. I don't have any idea if it was based on county, because I did bounce around between several, and I couldn't tell you what the thought process was behind. You made your first mission is to get them placed with the family. I had family that was available. I don't know if they were capable all the time. I don't know if their situation dictated it, but you want to help support family members and getting kids. Is that right?
That's right. So, the United States used to have orphanages in the 60s and, in the 60s, when John F. Kennedy was elected president, he wanted to get away from institutions. His sister Rosemary grew up in an institution and he saw what she didn't get. She saw that she got food and she had a bed and it's like so it's not that she didn't have anything, but she didn't have anybody that loved her. And she didn't have anybody that specifically knew who Rose was. And so he was a pioneer. His family was a pioneer. In fact, that's one of the reasons why the Kennedys today do Special Olympics, because it was we were institutionalizing people that have a kind of a handicap. So that's the natural progression to the Special Olympics for the Kennedy family. But we deinstitutionalized and we came up with foster care, and we started placing children in foster care in the 60s and 70s. They did it in the UK, they did it in France, they did it, we kind of created this system. Well, now the developing world, India, China, Brazil, South America, Mexico, Bulgaria, Bolivia, Romania, the rest of the world is now deinstitutionalizing. They have institutions. And now they're saying, we got to get these kids out of institutions. They're not good for children. It's no place for a kid to grow up. And what they're doing is they are doing kinship care. The number one person they go to is who the child says they should go to. Children know. What's the other thing we didn't know in the 60s? We didn't know that children were very capable of making grown-up decisions when they needed to. And so we ask the children, boys as young as 8, girls as young as 6, who do you think you can live with? Who do you know that you can live with? And they normally pick a family member, and that is the first group of people that the kids in the developing world are going to. They're going to our kin, and it's working. They're stable. So that's one of the things we're trying to bring over to America is this kinship care methodology, because it's just better for kids to be with people that they look like and sound like and smell like and are safe, and they're permanent. Permanent placements is the key.
Now, does the government in the U.S. actually support kin?
Yeah, some of them more than others. So in some states, if you're in kinship care, you don't get supported financially. You only get supported financially if you go to total strangers. But in some states they do. In some states they do. So that's some states have kinship care that they are supporting, but it's not as much of a thing here as it needs to be. So that's something that we get to work on here in the United States is kinship care. It's the future.
Hmm. Well, you mentioned that you're trying to work yourself out of a job and by 2040, and I know that so many organizations out there say they're trying to work themselves out of a job, but really aren't doing the things necessary to work themselves out of a job. They want to do the hero, they want to pull the kid out of the river, but they don't want to prevent the kid from getting in the river. And I know you did some work with the UN to try to, you know, stem the tide, so to speak, in the foster care system. What does that look like, your work with the UN?
It was really more work with other organizations that are doing what Miracle Foundation does. So there's about 156 of us, 156 separate organizations that came together and said that we are all going to do 3 things. Number 1, we're going to prioritize the role of family. Number 2, we're going to try to get every kid out of institutions and into families. And number 3, we're all going to try to go out of business by 2040. So we want the end of institutions by 2040, and we want working foster kinship care methodologies globally by 2040. And there's 156 organizations that are doing that. Now, that to me is the Achilles heel for nonprofits, is our not working together. Why are we not working together? It's because, and I'll tell you, one of the reasons why is it's very difficult. Programs need to be as local as possible. They need to be as grassroots as humanly possible. So that's the work needs to come from the ground. Everybody knows that. The work needs to come from the ground. Everybody knows that. And so when these nonprofits start to try to work together, they think a lot of times that the work is that we're doing the same job, that your programs look like my programs. And that is not the case. The programs have to be local. They have to be different. They have to be specialized to what's happening on the ground. But the way that we can work together is through our messaging, through our policy, through our fundraising, through communication, through a shared mission, through shared metrics. And that is that's the future of nonprofits. That is how you put yourself out of business, is you partner with other people that are doing what you're doing and share messaging, policy, money, uh, um, and resources.
Hmm. Oh, sharing of resources. We can't do that, can we? Can we actually share resources? You brought in $5 for this thing. I need my $1.25. They need their $1.25. I mean, how do you share resources?
Well, the first thing you do is you have a place to put them. So in our case, we have two places. We can either go to Better Care Network, BCN, Better Care Network. We put all of our resources there. So we put all of our tools. Our app is there. I mean, everything we create, our life skills education that we give to kids globally is there. So, and then these other organizations are putting their work there. So if you ever need programs, or you need to know how to educate a kid about sex ed or AIDS or, emotionality, it's all there. It all lives on Better Care Network or CAFO. Those are the two organizations where we share our resources. It's powerful.
I want to talk about the app again. It sounds like you've got foster care families connected to case managers and judges. Do the kids have access to the app too? Is there something for them as well on there?
Not yet. The app just launched. We did our pilots. We kind of figured out usability, how many people would use it daily, how many people would use it monthly. Because I mean, honestly, Travis, how many apps do you have on your phone that you don't even use? So the first thing we really wanted to figure out was what they call stickiness. Would it stick? I mean, will people actually use it? And so we did what they call the minimum viable product. So here's the minimum product we can do. Can we connect these case managers to these families, and let them talk about their journal entries and what's going on, at the child level? That's the very first thing we did with this app. That's where we are. We're growing it. So the answer is no, that kids don't have access to it yet, but that is definitely in the plan.
So what if they don't have access yet? Then what does your total vision for this thing look like? We've got the minimum viable product. We know we want to have other stuff. What's that huge vision that someone listening to this that wants to support you? Get them on board with your vision.
Well, the vision is a family for every child. And we have three different metrics that we're looking at right now in the foster family. Here's how we know if we're being successful. Number one, can we make more than 40% stick? Can we keep foster families in the system if we take care of their case managers? That's number one. Number two, can we reduce the amount of that bounce? So even if we go from 7 bounces of a child to 5 bounces, we know that we're moving in the right direction. At the end of the day, we don't want children in foster care at all. If anything, we only want them in kinship care. If that would be the ideal. The cool thing about this whole thing, is that not only is it solvable, not only can we see a vision for going out of business and having children that they don't need care and protection from the state anymore. They need care and protection from families and people and communities and neighborhoods and churches. But that it's also sustainable. You don't have to pay for it forever. I mean, once a family's on their feet, they're on their feet. Once a case manager's on her feet, she's on her feet. Once she's got her rhythm down, she's got her rhythm down. So yeah, so it's solvable and sustainable. It's pretty cool.
I absolutely love what you're doing. I love what you're doing with the foster care system. I love your heart for kids. And you mentioned that this happened in India was your genesis of your organization. I talked to Jonathan Kraus from Love Never Fails International, and he's US based, but all the work he does is in India for building schools, creating teachers, and creating communities that are self sustainable. Do you see the Miracle Foundation doing work inside the US only, or do you see a global vision for your future?
So we are in India. The 300 orphanages that we work with to get children out of institutions and into those are all in India. So our India is definitely our first charge. That was our first. That's where we started. That's where we bloomed. And then what we learned was like, wait a minute, we're getting these kids out of institutions and into kinship care. That's when we turned our eyes to America. So we've always been, we started off international, and we've recently just turned our eyes to the United States because we're learning from India what's working. So we're actually, instead of taking our lessons learned in America and taking them over to India, we're taking our lessons learned from India and bringing them over to the United States.
That's very interesting. So many
Because
people
they're
feel,
new,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
brand new stuff. I mean, the 60, we the foster care system started in the 60s. It's pretty antiquated. We didn't have Google in the 60s, for people that don't know that. That Google is, for your
we're
younger
both older
audience,
than Google.
we're both older than Google. And so, why we're not leveraging technology at all in our US foster care system. So yeah, we're taking our lessons learned from India and bringing them over to the United States.
I mean, shoot, childhood as a concept is barely 100 years old.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, the child labor laws didn't get enacted till, like, I don't know, the 19 teens or the early
Yeah, wow.
1920s. We're only 100 years into childhood, having a childhood as a concept. Like, oh, you ruined my childhood. We don't even figure out what the heck it's supposed to be yet. What do you mean? We just knew that you shouldn't be working in a coal mine, not that what that should really look like. So, like, we
Yeah.
haven't figured that out hardly as a society yet either, let alone the foster care system. Now, you asked me something interesting, like, how did I bounce around so much growing up with my mom with her mental illness and her mental health? Like, should I have been removed from her care? And I don't know what that answer should be. I feel like my time in foster care was more stable than the time with my mother, but I don't know that, she should have got her rights removed. I don't know what that is. If you have, I don't know, 6 hospitalizations, then your 7th one's free, and then your 8th one you lose custody of your kids. I don't know what that looks like.
Yeah, no, we're fortunate to live in a country that takes parental rights seriously. You don't want a country that is loosey goosey with parental rights. Parents have rights in this country, and it's a very good thing. So I wasn't thinking, gosh, your mom should have lost her rights. What I was actually thinking is, where could you have gone that
Mhm.
would have been stable for you? Was there an aunt? Was there a grandmother? Was there a cousin? Where could you have gone in your family tree that you would have been safe and your mom wouldn't have had to lose custody?
Yeah. So,
Was there a
like,
place for
I
you?
remember, yeah, I spent a lot of time living with my maternal grandmother, and I remember being younger than 10, and the judge asked me where do I want to go, and I said, "Grandma." My sister said, "I want to live with Dad." And it's very interesting that that happened early, but that changed later because we weren't in the foster care system till, I don't know, like maybe 5th grade for me. So I don't know if they were asked and were unable or unwilling, or what the situation was. I don't know how that changed, and she's not around anymore, my grandmother, so I can't ask her. But, like, I don't know what that situation looked like other than from a kid's perspective. And
Yeah, right.
now I have a daughter that's 18, and she's asking some questions, like, about our parenting style. And it's hard to think that she, like, we had all the answers, we had all the perspective, but she just saw these certain things out of us. Like, I don't understand why, Cole got more attention than I did. Well, Cole almost died like 5 times. So whenever he coughed or sniffled, we were like, are we going to the hospital again? You never had that. When from a kid's perspective, I have no idea what changed. Was it the location difference because we were now more than 30 minutes away from where she was? So were they concerned about taking us out of school? Like, I don't know what the factors are behind the scenes.
Yeah, it's interesting. Well, hopefully those factors are different now. And I'm glad a judge asked you. That was a precocious judge. I love that he did that, or she did that. Um, but why they didn't listen is, I don't know. I don't know either. That's not good.
Well, they listened that time. Like, that moment, I went and lived with grandma after that. But after, again, later down the line, I never saw a judge to have them decide or ask us what they thought. I don't really know what that looks like. What I'm interested to know is, like, how did your organization get basically the state to agree to some of these things? Like, how did you get case managers on board? How did you get judges on board with using an app and increasing communication? I'm sure that wasn't easy.
Well, so the state of Texas is going through a change where some of the work from the state has been trickled down to nonprofit organizations. So nonprofit organizations are the ones that have case managers for the children, and so it's been really easy because sometimes the state is pretty hard to move. They're antiquated. They've been doing it a certain way. It's very bureaucratic. But these nonprofit organizations, they picked up the app just like in a minute. So they were more forward thinking, they're easier to move. And the way you create systemic change, here's how it works. You pilot something, you prove that it works on a small scale, and then you make it bigger. You prove that it works on a bigger scale and you make it bigger, and you prove that it works on a bigger scale and you make it bigger, and then the state takes it. And that is how you truly scale an organization. And so that's what we're in the process of doing. We're in the process of getting the state to take it, because that is the only way. Like your friend that works for education in schools. Why the heck is the state not doing that? That is the job of the state. The work that Miracle Foundation does is actually the job of the state. So our goal is to create these solutions that can be uploaded all the way to the state level.
Mm-hmm. Do you know like which organizations you're working with in Texas? I got a friend, Susan, that runs Austin Angels, which is
Yes, we
foster
work
care.
with Austin Angels. We work with
Yeah,
Austin Angels. We love Austin Angels. Yes, absolutely.
that's awesome. I've talked to her once. I need to get her back on again and actually interview her. I did it last time. We sat down and do it, and me as a podcaster, I had some settings wrong and it didn't come out the way we wanted to. So I got to reconnect with Susan and get her back on.
Beautiful. Love it. Yes.
So I love your vision.
Partnership is the future. Partnership is the key.
Is the future. Partnership is the key. Caroline, I
That's right.
love everything you're doing with the Miracle Foundation. I like your vision of working yourself out of a job by 2040, that you're working on family first, preventing kids from entering the system altogether, and then connecting those that are in the system with the Foster Share app. Is there anything you want to leave our audience with today?
Yeah. It is going to take all of us. We call the children that we work with OPCs, other people's children. And if you look around and you see how you treat your own kids and what you do for your own kids, and the amount of time, energy, money, patience you put on your own children, and then we have these other people's children. If we took 10% of our life and dedicated it to other people's children, and realizing children are all about, they're all of us. They belong to all of us. And we started taking responsibility for other people's children, we really could change the world. And I don't mean taking responsibility tomorrow. I mean taking responsibility today. Responsibility means the ability to respond. That's what it means. The ability to respond. And if your listeners took on the ability to respond to children in need of care and protection today, we can change this, and we wouldn't have to work on the prison system in the future. I can tell you that, because if you don't take care of them now while they're children and they're cute and they're young and they're sweet, we're going to end up taking care of them when they're in jail. So, and they don't know how to read at 25. So, and if we thought about our giving and our the way that we take care of other people, if we thought about our health that way, we would all be almost dead, because we don't really give enough time to thinking about how we can really help other people. And so the best way to help other people is to find a nonprofit organization that's working with either people, children, not giving your money to Harvard, that's the rich helping the rich. We got to give our money to people at the bottom of the pyramid. That is the goal. So if you can find an organization that's working with children at the bottom of the pyramid, like Miracle Foundation does, and then you commit to them monthly, and that monthly giving in a sustained fashion is what really helps organizations like mine and the other 156 organizations I work with change the game. So monthly giving,
donations. Yes.
monthly recurring donations that are unrestricted. So when COVID happened, because we have so many donors at unrestricted monthly giving, we changed on a dime. I mean, we could just act. We just move. And so the way you make this problem go away, which we can make this problem go away. We can make this foster care system work for children. We can make it go away. Is we all commit. Nothing's heavy if everyone lifts, and it's time for people to start lifting.
Wow, I just love that, Caroline. I love your passion for this. I love that your passion has turned into action, and you're actually taking action on your word, what you said you were going to do. That means a lot.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, we're called the Miracle Foundation because they're miracles and they need a foundation. And so that's what we can provide to children, is a foundation.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show today, Caroline. What is the single best place for people to reach you?
Miraclefoundation.org. You can find us there.
Fabulous. Thanks again, Caroline. I'll let you know when this all comes out.
So glad. Thank you, everybody.